lovelies, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well, and love to each and every one of you. I kind of did a spontaneous improvisation look today. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, but this is the look that I kind of ended up with. It's a smoky, creasy look. So if you'd like to see how I've done it, then please keep watching. Hey lovelies, so the purpose of this video today is because I recorded a inspired look a few days back, and I spent hours upon hours editing it, and I edited so much out that there was no point in putting it up. So apologies for that. My Jamie inspired video, I will be doing another one, but for now it's a no-go, unfortunately. So today I'm going to be doing a bit of a spontaneous improvisation. I'm not actually quite sure what I'm doing, I just know what I have on. This is my, let me see if I can show you. This is my Mickey Mouse t-shirt. So I bought that a couple of weeks ago, and it's so comfortable. So I'm supposed to be on a time limit today, and yeah. You just can't have time limits. Anybody that has a time limit is just mad. It's completely mad. This video is probably going to be half an hour long, but hey ho! I applied moisturiser. I used the one, I think it's from S Cosmetics. This is the Moisturising Fluid Light Oil Free Texture Oily Skin Oil Control. How many times can you say oil in one product? Wow. So this is supposed to be a moisturiser for oily and acne prone skin. Helps normalise sebum production. Sebum is basically another fancy word for oil, if you guys did not know that. Tip of the day. So it just looks like this. And I like using that at the minute with my Nip and Fab Hydrate. This is the Dragon's Blood Fix Hydraulic Shot. And it comes in one of those really cool little button pipette things. Anything that's like this, I'm just attracted to it. I just can't help myself. So I apply a few drops of that with my moisturiser and put it all over my face. And I also like to put it down my neck, because at the minute I've got quite a lot of blemishes that have occurred down my neck. I think it's because I've been using a different perfume. So that does irritate your skin, obviously, if it's fragrance. So I think that's what's going on at the minute, or at least that's what I'm putting it down to anyways. Okay, so if you don't know already, I'm using a combination of foundations at the moment, and that consists of, this is the Revlon Photo Ready Airbrush Effect Foundation. I'm in the shade Ivory. This foundation isn't bad, but considering it's airbrush, like I said in my previous tutorial, it doesn't give you that much coverage, unfortunately, and considering it's airbrush, I would have expected it to be quite high coverage, but unfortunately it's not. It might just be my one that I got and that I received. Yeah. So I apply a couple of pumps of this on the back of my hand, and then with that I've been using the L'Oreal Paris Infallible 24-Hour Matte Foundation. This is in the shade Sand, which is 20, I believe. This is medium coverage, which I do believe in. But again, I like my foundation. I like my foundation to be on quite heavy, so I like mixing these two together. This shade is quite good. I mean, I'm really pale as it is anyway, but when you have a tan, it looks fine. But at the minute, because it's fading off, it's I like to mix it with the lighter shade. So I'm just going to apply a few drops of that. Then I'm going to mix it together with my finger and then dot it all around my face. So as you can see, it's quite gloopy, and the two shades are actually really different from each other, but when they're blended together it actually gives me an okay shade, so I'm not too bothered about the difference. So I'm just going to dot it all over my face. A little bit down the neck. Okay, and then I'm just going to take a cotton pad and wipe that off my hand. I forgot to do this once, and I turned up at work, and everybody thought that I had some sort of skin disease because I didn't wipe my foundation off my hand. That was not a very good day. Okay, so to blend this in, I'm going to be using the Real Techniques buffing brush. I have been using a beauty blender, but recently mine are so dirty that I cannot keep using it. It's extremely unhygienic, so I'm just going to be using this to buff it into my skin. I do think buffing it in with a brush is quicker than a beauty blender. It doesn't kind of, I don't believe that it buffs it in as much as a beauty blender does. It kind of leaves it sitting on the skin a little bit more. It doesn't kind of buff it right in, which is what I like with a beauty blender. I know there is a lot of controversy on beauty blenders and the fact that they absorb a lot of the product, but in my case it's actually quite beneficial for me that the product is soaked up quite a lot, just because it doesn't leave that much of a cake face, and I use quite a lot of concealer, so in my case it's actually beneficial. This does take me hours to do, but it's because I liked it blended in quite a lot, because I do like it blended in quite a lot because it doesn't leave me that much of a job afterwards to go in and then try and blend it with every other product that I use. So I do like to blend this in quite a lot with the brush, even though it takes me hours. Okay, so now that that's done, the next step I'm going to do is my eyebrows, just because I like to do those quite messy and then I like to clean up and then put the powder on top afterwards to like not matte them down, but take some of the colour out, because they actually end up quite dark, and I'm pretty blonde at the moment, so I don't want them that dark. But I'm going to use this spoolie thing. If anybody knows what these are called in the UK, then please let me know, because I keep calling it a spoolie because I've heard so many people say that, but I'm not actually sure whether that's what it's called or not. So it's just one of these things, one of the brushes. So I'm just going to brush through the little hair that I have. I'm not too bothered about them being that precise today, because I'm mainly going to focus on the eyeshadow and eye makeup, so they can look messy today. I'm not too bothered about that. So I've changed up my brow routine, and what I use now is, this is the Rimmel London Born This Way. It's the brow kit. It's a really, really cute little duo palette. It wasn't that expensive at all, as I say, apart from the exception of maybe MAC sometimes, all the products that I use are Drugstore. So I'm in the shade 3, which is dark brown. You can't get these shades individually, so although it doesn't tell you what each shade is called, they only come in these duos. So if you get the 3, then you'll know what shade I mean. But one side of this palette is a gel, which is this one here, and the second shade over here is a powder. So you could literally just take this palette anywhere you go and your brows will be perfect. You don't need anything else apart from these two, which I absolutely love, because it's so handy just to pop in your bag, and if you smudge them off during the day, you're not going to look silly. So yeah, this is a really, really great product. I'll be using this for quite a while, I think. So I'm going to take this on a Real Techniques angled brow brush. I've been using this brow brush for quite a while. I've not found anyone that's drugstore wise that's better, so this is very, very good. I'm going to take this, the gel side here, and I'm just going to start off by carving out my brows, or carving in, should I say, in my case. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that on the end of my brush, and I'm going to start by drawing them on. Okay, so now that I've kind of got the shape that I want there, I'm going to be taking the other shade in the palette, which is it's the powdered side. On the same brush, I'm going to just dip a little tiny bit in because I don't want a lot of fallout. So now I have one, and then I have two. So I'm not going to bother kind of going around and neatening them up today, just because I'm not too bothered that they look a bit on the bushy side. So I'm going to leave that step and completely skip it out today. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to prime my eyelids. I've run out of my MAC paint pot, which I absolutely love. Jamie Genevieve completely sold me on that product, watching her tutorials for so long now. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to be using the Collection Lasting Perfection Ultimate Wear Concealer. This is the shade 1, which is fair. They do have 2 or 3 of these in 2 completely different shades. One is on the really light spectrum and one is completely dark. So if you can mix the 2 together, then you'll probably end up with a really nice shade. This is perfect for your highlighting and your eye priming. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this and I'm going to apply it all over the lid. I'm just going to use my finger to buff that in. I like using this as an eyelid primer just because it's not too kind of pigmented to the point where it looks completely different to your foundation. It's lighter, so regardless of what powder you apply on top, it will always end up blending into your skin really nicely. It's not too thick where you're going to end up with really deep lines on your crease, but it's not too light where you're not going to get full coverage with it. So this is why I really like this concealer. Okay, so to map that down, I'm going to be taking some of my Bare Minerals Bare Pro. This is the foundation powder. I'm in the shade 2, which is Dawn. Again, I bought this at the airport when I was in Corfu, so my skin was a little bit darker anyways. It's not too bad, but depending on what foundation I apply underneath, it can be a little bit too dark for me. But for the sake of using it as just to mattify my eye primer, it does the job. I'm going to take some of this product and I'm going to be using the Real Techniques. This is the contour brush. This is the limited edition. By limited edition, I just mean that it's got this kind of handle thing, if you like saying. But I have got another one of these, which is just here. The only difference is that I think these are their newer ones, and it's slightly thicker on the handle. And obviously these are kind of like your creamy, shiny orange. It doesn't make a difference what one you use. There's not too much difference in them. They're both called the contour brush, but as I say, this one is the limited range. The bristles and the brushes actually themselves are really similar. This one maybe is a little bit more dome shaped, so it can fit right in the eye socket. This one's a bit more, the bristles are not as compact, so it is quite good with dispersing the product, especially if you are contouring with it. It's a really good brush. Okie dokies. Right, so now we're ready for eyeshadow. I still have no idea what I'm going to do. Oopsie. Okay, so I think I finally come to the decision of what I'm going to do today. So on my Courtney palette, I actually can't show you right now what shade I'm using because I'm using the mirror in my palette. But I'll pop a link up somewhere on this screen, probably down here. And I'll put the shade in just so you know what one I'm using. So for this, I'm going to be taking the Deluxe Crease Brush. Every time this word gets me, it's horrendous. So I'm going to be taking this on the Deluxe Crease Brush by Real Techniques. This is a really light shade. I'm just going to be using this as my transition shade. So I'm going to be really softly applying this to the outer corner, blending it right into the inner corner. Okay, so I'm just going to apply this to the Okay, so I'm just going to apply this ever so gently in the outer corner and drag it towards the inner corner. I'm going to be doing a kind of spotlight lip today. I'm not going to be doing it really precise as a lot of people do. By spotlight, I just mean that I'm going to be applying most of the Okay, so now that that's on, I'm going to be taking this shade right here on the same brush, and I'm going to be pretty much applying this just where I applied the transition shade, but I'm not going as towards my brow bone as I did previously. I'm going to be tilting the brush a little bit more onto my lid. I always have to apply more product to this eye because the pigment just doesn't take as well as it does on the other one. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only body. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who has that difficulty, so if you do, then let me know. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to brush off the excess of that colour, dip it back into that transition shade that we used before, and I'm just going to blend it out a little bit more in the corners. This just makes it a little bit more soft. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to take another Real Techniques brush, if I can find it. Voila, here we go. So this is the base shadow brush, and it's kind of, the bristles are a lot more loose than the than the other brush. Yeah, and it's a lot more flat than the domed one. It's a completely different shape. So this is really, really good for just packing on the product on the lid. However, I'm not going to be using it for that purpose today. I'm going to be using it to kind of line the inner crease, as opposed to the outer crease apparently. So I'm going to be dipping that in the same shade we just used, but I'm going to be dabbing it in this shade. So I'm going to be dabbing those two together just to make it a little bit more dark. So I'm just running this right along my crease and the inner corner, just to give the impression of a bigger eye. I talk like a robot when I'm concentrating. Okay, so just run it along there like so, and then I go in with my domed brush again and I just buff that out. Okay, and then just repeat that step on the other eye. Okay, so once that's quite blended in, I'm going to be taking this shade, And I'm going to be applying that with my fingertip all over the lid. And on the other eye. Okay, so back in with the back in with the crease brush that we used before. I'm just going to go ahead and run it along the places that we applied it before. I haven't dipped back into the eyeshadow. I'm just using the excess of what was already on the brush. Onto the rest of the face. I'm going to start by concealing my blemishes. Today I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me foundation. Maybelline Fit Me concealer. I'm in the shade 15. This shade is really, really good for my skin tone. They do have this one or a 10. I don't think they have any other doggies. So I'm going to take some of this and I'm just going to apply it directly on the areas that I'm breaking out, which is pretty much my whole face. Okay, so with that on, I'm going to be going ahead with my Collection concealer. This is the one that we used on the eyelids to prime them. I'm going to be using this to highlight the underneath of my eyes. I want it like a little tiger. So in with my beauty blender, I'm going to be blending all of this in. Okay, so to set the underneath of my eyes, I will be using the BP banana powder. I got this in my glossy box last month. I am going to be uploading a video shortly on my glossy box for August. I'm really, really excited about it, and you'll hear more about it in that tutorial. So if you want to watch that, go check it out. I'm going to be taking this on the same brush that I used to set the eyelids, and I'm going to be taking quite a hefty amount, and I'm just going to be baking this underneath my eye. Okay, so now that's on, I'm going to be carrying on with the rest of my face. Okay, so I'm going to be using the contour brush, the other one that we talked about before, in the Revlon bronzer, which is the shade 12. It doesn't say anything else about this product. It comes with a little mirror here, and then I believe I did have like a tiny kind of applicator at the bottom, but who keeps those? Nobody does. So I'm going to be taking some of this product and just be carving out my cheekbones, a little bit on my forehead and down the nose. So a little bit on the forehead and just down the bridge of my nose. Bridge? Not down the bridge. Down the sides of my nose. And just on the bottom there. On my my limited edition buffer brush, I'm going to be taking some of the W7 Africa palette just here. I absolutely love this. It's a bronzy pinky kind of blusher and it goes on really, really nicely. So I'm just going to dab some of that in and apply it to my cheeks. Maybe not that much. Okay, so now I'm going to wipe away the excess underneath my eyes. And I'm just going to be setting my T-zone with the Bare Minerals powder that I used before. So just across the forehead. Down the nose. This pretty much goes on any areas that I get oily, which genuinely is my T-zone. Some on the chin. So on a bigger fluffy brush, this is the Real Techniques multitask brush. I'm going to be taking the same powder and just applying this on my neck. So I'm just going to take the dome shadow brush that we used previously, and I'm going to dip it into the first two shades that we used, which I will put here for you. And I'm just going to be applying this to the lower lash line. Okay, so then I'm going to take the crease brush that we used before, and I'm just going to dip that into the same two shades that we used to define the crease, and I'm just going to be really focusing this just on the lash line. I'm not dragging it out too far underneath because I don't want it dragged right down. I'm just applying this on the lower lash line just to make them look a bit thicker, and then I'm joining it up into the outer corner. So back in with that blending brush, just making sure that it's all nice and soft and there's no harsh lines. Okay, so now that that's done, next step is mascara. So for today's mascara I will be using, when I can find it, I'm going to be using the Maybelline New York Colossal Big Shots mascara. This is the waterproof mascara. It's a pain in the ass to get off. It's lovely when applied, but it drives me mad having to try and get this off. So I'll probably be screaming later on, but for now I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to use it. So I'm just going to apply a few coats of this just on the top and bottom lashes. So next step will be highlighting, one of my favourite steps. As you all know by now, if you've watched my previous tutorials, I love the Goddess of Love highlighter. I can't remember where I got this from, and unfortunately it doesn't actually have a brand name on it. So it was probably one of those things where it was like nobody knew about it, but they're great. So I'm going to be taking this highlighter on the Real Techniques. I think this is actually the highlighter brush. It's the first brush that I actually use for what it's supposed to be for. So I'm going to take a little bit of the highlighter, and I'm just going to be applying this to the tops of my cheeks and just across my brow bone, and then I'll also be putting it a little bit on my cupid's bow and down my nose. Okay, so now that I'm nice and highlighted, I'm going to move on to lips. I'm not actually going to be applying much on my lips today, just because the eye makeup that I've used is quite heavy, for me anyway. So I'm going to be taking one of the Bare Minerals little lip glosses. I have got a tutorial on these and how they swatch. If you'd like to go see it, I will put a link right up here. and you can click on that and go to watch that. So for today, I think I'm going to be using Cosmic for today, and I'm just going to apply this all over the lips. Okay, so last but not least, I'm going to be darkening up the mascara just with an eyeliner pencil. I'm just going to be running this along the top lash line. This is the one from Collection. It's called the Intense Colour, and this is just an ordinary black eyeliner pencil. Okay, so now that that's done, I am finished. This is my finished look for today. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and comment your advice and recommendations and everything possible on the comment boxes below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, I shall see you in my next video. Love, love.